Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Your Health is Your Choice, along with a little business on the side as well. You are listening to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, and I'm your host, Sarah Troy. And my guest is Thomas Mallory Hill, and we're going to be talking today about a product called Redox, but we're also going to be talking about connections and how to connect to people and build your business, which is important. So kind of this could have gone under the business genre as well today. He says that his why is he wants to help people get rid of the results from ongoing health challenges, improve athletic performance, and anti-aging remedies that provide skin health and vitality. He wants to help people without the hope of feeling or being or in looking better. He says we all have an answer, and if hope and opportunity and solutions for people, then they are a match. And today he's educating people about redox biochemistry, redox cell signaling molecules to restore revitalization and repair unhealthy cells. I'm going to take it a step further. Yes, we're going to be talking about health and what redox can do, but I'm also going to be talking about, you know, um, the healthy attitude in business and sharing, because obviously if you're going to be doing redox, some of you may want to use the product for revitalization, some of you may want to get into the business of it. And business is all about connecting, as it is when you find a good health product that you like. It's all about sharing. So everything is about caring and sharing. First care for yourself so you can care for other people. So welcome to the show, Thomas.
Well, thank you for having me today, Sarah. It's nice to be with you and your audience.
Tell us what Redox is, because I know I've heard all about it. It's out there, and
Mhm.
everybody wants something that's going to. Our cell structure today is bamboozled so much more than it ever has been in the history of time, with chemicals, with toxins, with the atmospheric toxins that are out there, with emotional
Yeah,
toxins, and so anything that can give us either a new lease on life or extend our life healthily is something that we're
yeah,
interested in.
yeah. Well, thank you. Uh, Let me start by sharing with you a concept, if you will, because a little under 4 years in June of this year, I would have been introduced to this new health science breakthrough. And that's really what it is. It's an opportunity where back in uh, 2008, we've had a number of scientists, atomic lead physicists, medical physicists, people struggling with this technology. And it was during that time, I would direct you to a tool that we have, Vertis Norton, who is the founder of our company, and Tyler Norton, his son. Uh, they found that there was a biotech company that was struggling with this new science. And from my perspective, um, as a consumer, uh, this product is actually being shared by word of mouth. Uh, the manufacturer, ASEA, is the name of the organization now, ASEA, decided that it would the consumer would be best served by introducing a product that, in some sense, is kind of complicated, but in another, uh, it really is something extraordinary. And I will maybe make an attempt a little bit later in your broadcast to share with you how it was shared with me. And it was really simple. A neighbor, I live about 40 miles west of Chicago in Illinois, here in the Midwest. And a neighbor in a neighboring town had been looking for people on LinkedIn. And I was a part of that social media platform and a part of educators and principals and superintendents. And she looked and found me and introduced me and invited me to a site that we now call Redox 5. And it's on discover uh, ASEA.com. And anybody is welcome to attend. It doesn't cost anything. And there are other medical professionals and sometimes other guests who kind of explained what this is. And that was my introduction to Redox back in June of 2020. I can't hear you.
Sorry, yeah, no, I accidentally pushed my button there.
That was a good question. I could hear it. But
I rephrase. Um, we're bombarded by so much media today, and back in the day, we used to have that horrible flash that every time you went to a site, flash, 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 and
mm,
and it's like there's very clever advertising out there, and we've got to a point. Sounds too good to be true. Oh, it must be
absolutely.
fake because again, on social media, there's so much fake stuff that we don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to trust. So when somebody word of mouth, I call it the picket fence
Mm-hmm.
thing, it's somebody sharing the experience and passing it on. That ripple effect is so much more rooting
Oh,
and
absolutely.
trusting than it is just these other ads out there. So I commend the company for going that way because
Mm-hmm.
quite honestly, somebody's shared experience is so much more truer. Now,
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that the next person is going to have exactly the same experience. They're going to have their experience. But that's what
exactly.
kind of creates a lovely wave out there of everybody having different experiences according to what their body needs.
Hmm. And it's interesting that you say that. In fact, if we could do this, Sarah, if we were the neighbors over our picket fence, I would say this to you: Hey, Sarah, guess what? A friend of mine, shared something with me, and I saw again, if it were a movie, I saw this demonstration, but I heard this gentleman who was from, and I'll give him his credit, is Dr. Ralph Stevens. I hope he's still with us. He was elderly when I was
Mm,
introduced to him on this program, this webinar. But he said something interesting to me, and I've been in education now a little over 40 years.
mm,
I've taught some science at the elementary school level when I was doing that, or middle or high school. And he introduced the concept that redox signaling molecules, in fact, redox is a contraction of two words. They are reductants and oxidants.
mm.
And 90% of us, if you were to ask anyone, audience about, hey, have you ever heard of oxidants? About 195% of people go, yeah, they're in blueberries and
Yes.
strawberries. But if I came to you over the fence and said, Sarah, I just heard something about something called a reductant, and it has something to do with oxygen. I can't explain all of it, but here's what I know. If you have reductants and oxidants, these really tiny molecules in every part of our body, over a trillion, they tell me, trillions of cells. But Dr. Stevens said this: they have been studying this for 50 or 60 years.
Yeah.
Nothing new.
No.
Redox is native to our bodies. There are
Yes.
four molecules:
Hmm.
hydrogen and oxygen. We think that's called water. And then sodium and chloride, when you put those together, it's salt.
Mm.
And so Dr. Stevens said there are signaling molecules that either repair cells or replace cells or rejuvenate cells.
Hmm.
And then, if some cases, if the cell needs to be killed, there's a fancy word in science and medical terms called apoptosis. And so, what it does is it gets rid of these things through our bloodstream, and it just takes out the garbage. So,
Yes.
Sarah, I heard Dr. Stevens say this. He says, in case you are, maybe all you football players out there, I used to be one. He says, in case you don't understand, let me tell you what I mean. He goes, if you take a human egg, now we're over the fence, Sarah, so listen to what I'm saying. A human egg and a human sperm, we know what happens. You don't have
Yes.
to be an educator.
Yeah.
You put them
Birds and the
together,
bees.
right. 9, 10 months later, we have a human being, right?
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if they got all 10 fingers and toes, or we don't know.
No.
Because again, the programming, right,
Mm.
of every cell and genetics have to do with how tall we are or how
Mm.
beautiful we look, like as you do and I do. And some people don't look as good as we do, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
But Dr. Stevens says they were fascinated by why did the human egg change color? So
Mm.
now he's got my attention when he first said human egg and sperm. I went, okay, this is going to be a sex conversation. This ought to be fun. Hey, but Sarah, this is what he told us. He said he found that when the human egg changed color, it was a signal to the other trillions of cells that the egg has been fertilized.
Ah.
Factory closed. Nobody else gets in. And
Hmm.
now the band can start singing. We can play
Hmm.
the game. I said, wait a minute, it can't be that simple. And it was almost as though I was participating in the webinar,
Of
Sarah. And this is
course,
what he
yes.
said.
I mean,
He
you
goes,
got a good one. You're talking back to it. Yeah.
he goes, listen, here's what happens. So for all you football players, there's a game in American football. You've got guys in different colored jerseys, right?
Hmm.
He says, do you know they're ready to bang it? This Sunday is going to be the Super Bowl, right?
Uh-huh.
They can't start playing the game until a whistle is blown.
Hmm.
And I thought, I got that. Okay,
Yes,
football player.
yes.
Okay. And then he says, for all you Indy fans, in case you don't like football, he goes, we got these expensive vehicles and they're in Indianapolis and they're on this white line and they're revving up, their
Yeah.
engines and they're inching up, right? He says, you know what? The race can't start until what happens?
The flag
The
goes
gun
down.
goes off, a
Oh, the
signal.
gun
And I
goes off.
went,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
So redox signaling molecules
Mm.
tell every single cell from their genetic expression and what to do because everything is already programmed in our RNA and our DNA. You've got to grow, you've got to stop growing. And so all of these things made sense to me. And while I was struggling with some issues, I had just turned 65 that year, or was about to. It just made sense.
Yeah.
And I went, are you kidding me? It can't be that simple.
Right.
But the way he explained it was just that. It's a signaling molecule.
The thing is, we have trillions of cells in our body,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every single
Mm-hmm.
one of those cells is assigned to a job. Right? Now,
Exactly.
just like the bad apple that can contaminate the barrel, it's the same
Mm-hmm.
with a cell. When a cellular structure starts going down, it starts contaminating other cells. Now you go,
Yes,
well, there's trillions of them. So, what impact can it have? Well, it can escalate extremely fast according to your stress
exactly.
level or whatever it is that you are suffering from. If not addressed and if not taken care of, that cellular structure starts breaking down. It's the same thing as
Exactly.
that in every single cell, there is a memory, right?
Ooh,
The,
and Sarah, let me inject this. It's not just human beings,
mhm.
it's in every animal and in
Every
every
living thing.
plant.
Yes.
Because the one thing we all have in common is something called mitochondria,
Yes.
and that's in thousands of our cells. And also something called adenosine triphosphate, the initials are ATP, is where the energy comes from.
Yes.
So when those cells, as you just described, whether they're healthy cells or whether they're bad cells, they're programmed to do their job.
Right.
But if they don't get the signal or the antenna, if it's not strong enough,
Yes.
they can't do that job.
And,
And so
taking it
unfortunately, things
a
happen.
step
Mm-hmm.
further, your myofascial, right, which is your fiber optics. Now, the fiber optics are, from the brain that run throughout your body. It's that white
Mm-hmm.
sinewy stuff underneath kind of your skin and your blood
Mm-hmm.
that is what tells you to move your hands, your body, and everything else. If that's damaged, that's when the messaging is not getting through. Well,
Absolutely.
the cellular structure is there to repair that. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's damaged, then how can it repair that? So
Mm-hmm.
we've got to understand there's a system going on in here. And that
Mm-hmm.
system is only as good as all of the systems working at optimization, right?
That's
So it's
correct.
very
That is
important
correct.
that we keep the cell structure plump and juicy and healthy because it is feeding the rest of the body. We've
Yeah.
also got to bear in mind depression, trauma, stress, how much that's
Oh,
breaking
oh
down your
yeah.
cellular structure. And we end up with dis-ease and disease. And, cancer is
Mm-hmm.
at 80% emotional disease coming from trauma. And we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at, heart and many other things that we're seeing there that is stress related. And how many people
Mm-hmm.
now are living in that state of stress? So we've,
Absolutely.
on one hand, we've got to look at our lifestyles and go, okay, I need to let some things go so I'm not living in so much stress. But while we're
Mm-hmm.
doing that, we've also got to go into the cellular structure and say, how do I help you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Help
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really what it
And it's
is.
interesting what you said, and some of our recent studies at the genetic level. There's a gene called the NRF2 gene that opens up these other pathways. And interesting that you said that because these molecules, Sarah, are so tiny, so
Yes.
minuscule, and they permeate every single cell in the body. Our largest organ, our
Mm-hmm.
skin. Well,
Mm-hmm.
something you said which triggered to me to share with you is that when these cells begin to signal, think of it as, every cell needs gravity to make, and that's what the energy transfer comes
Yes.
from, is from gravity. So think about it, a molecule on a cell, on a hill, and then once it gets the signal, gravity begins to
Mm-hmm.
draw the cell down. Now it's that energy transfer where the cell begins to come down the hill, and every single cell wants to get to a state, we call it homeostasis, but it wants to get to a state where it dissolves,
Yes.
where all of the energy is used.
Hmm.
So redox biochemistry happens when we breathe.
Hmm.
Redox biochemistry is in hydrogen peroxide. There's another phrase that's called superoxide dismutase, where these reductants get smaller and smaller and smaller as their energy dissipates. But here's the fun thing, you just said it. So when one cell goes, hey, we're here, it sends another signal to begin to cascade, and then
Yes.
it bumps the next signal, like dominoes falling. And
Yes.
then that
Yes.
cascading effect goes, and it goes,
Hmm.
hey, heart cells, hey, liver cells, hey,
Yes.
whatever, time to go to work. And that's
Right.
a great example that you gave. But that visual
Hmm.
of a cell, being transferred because of gravity, all of that energy, again, the ATP is what's helping us make these signals to be able to communicate. And that cascading effect begins to hit every single cell in our body. It
You know, a
happens
lot.
in nanoseconds. Mm-hmm.
Right. And a lot of people, are suffering from a lack of energy. And that is because,
Mm.
the cell structure is not working properly. The other thing I think we have to remember is we're fluid creatures. The amount
Mm-hmm.
of water in our body, the oxygen in our body, the blood, everything has to be in flow. It has a rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
it has a flow. If it's not in flow, it's not in go. And that
That's
means it's
that's
in
good. I
stop,
like
and
that.
that means it's breaking down.
Can I
So,
use that, Sarah? If
yeah,
it's
you
not in
can.
flow, it cannot go.
Good.
That's good.
So it can't work for you. So that cellular structure can't gather that momentum to get over the hill, to get down
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
gravity. So we've got to
exactly.
bear in mind that, a fluidity of everything within our body, mind, heart, body,
Mhm,
and soul. This is an entire wholeness. Everybody thinks that looking at the body, it's just the flesh and blood. But
mhm,
if you're not taking in consideration the mind set, the psyche set, the overall, spiritual well-being, all of
mhm.
that comes into play. All right.
Yes, it
So
does.
which comes first, a healthy body to have a healthy mind, or a healthy mind to have a healthy body? We have to work in unison with it.
Well, exactly. And that's why that term homeostasis, the balance, it's
Yeah.
not just the oxidants,
Yeah.
it's the reductants as well. And so the superoxide dismutase, as it transfers and gets smaller, turns into hydrogen peroxide. As that transfers, every chemical process, I'm not a chemist, but after 4 years of listening to all these scientists and all
Yes,
these
exactly.
people
You've
to
gathered the
say,
info.
here's some information
Yeah.
that I think everyone should know, but just as 50, 60 years ago, we didn't know how penicillin worked or
Right.
how the vaccine for polio worked.
Right.
But let me say this about vaccines. It's interesting. I don't mean to bring it up. It might be a sore topic for some
Not at
people,
all. Not at all.
but an interesting concept is when our bodies are faced with dis-ease, as you
Hmm.
talked about. I was exposed to tuberculosis when I was a child. So I will forever test, that I have active, tuberculin, chemicals and that type of disease in my body. But the interesting thing is, in as much as science comes up with, we don't want to call them cures, but remedies to mitigate one challenge because it's a pharmaceutical, in redox signaling molecules, they're native to our body. So
Mm-hmm.
because they took these four molecules and they're so fleeting, they do their job so fast, and if it's not used, it turns right back into salt water. And so when we, as you pointed out, when we have the proper amount of rest, the proper amount of exercise, we're eating more cleanly. But if you're exposed to toxins in the air,
Hmm.
all these factors uh, indicate oxidative stress, as you
Yes.
pointed out. Like when you cut an apple, you
Yeah.
don't have to do anything. The oxygen in the air, the transfer of those
Mm.
oxygen molecules goes, okay, well, if it's iron, it's going to rust. If it's an apple, it's going to turn brown. But if you took these molecules and you applied it to that same apple, do you know it would stop turning brown? Because
Mm.
it's reaching a point of homeostasis. It's
Ah.
coming in balance. So if all you have are the oxidants, and just like we have antioxidants, we have
Hmm.
things that we're trying to pair. I used to use an example of oxygen molecules. The atomic weight are two protons, two neutrons, two electrons. And I use this over the summer. This is funny. I'm not Dr. Stevens, but this is the best way I can process. I said, well, what happens if there's a pair? God designed it where all the electrons have the proper amount of weight. But if the oxygen molecule, if the one electron gets mad at the other and says, I'm leaving you, we're getting a divorce, right? And so it becomes like now become we call it a free radical, right? So now the one oxygen molecule is trying to look for the pair. It's trying to get, it's supposed to
Mm.
be married,
Yeah.
but now it's like It's so angry, it's causing damage to all the cells because I'm free. You're not supposed to be free, you're supposed to be paired, right?
Right.
And so the funny thing is about oxidative stress, and then when scientists came up with antioxidants
Mm-hmm.
and of their variety, it's that oxygen molecule trying to be paired to calm the body's
Right.
inflammation down.
Yes.
Now comes in the reductants. Da, da, da. So there are molecules that work just the opposite way to go, hey, calm down, I'm here. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay, honey.
Mm-hmm.
We're the reconciliation for this marriage. And so then the oxygen molecules go, oh, I'm glad the reductants showed up because boy, I was like upset. And
Yeah.
that's kind of it's a funny way to think of it, but everything that's supposed to be a pair, right? We read about the narrative where Noah took the animals in two by
Yes.
two,
Yes.
right? Man and woman. But the funny thing about being paired at the cellular level, it's when there's a signal that goes, hey, or the one electron goes, I'm upset, I'm leaving, I'm going to be something else. And it causes all this
Yeah.
damage, diabetes, all these other
Mm.
medical conditions that we have. And until you get them back in balance, until they're back home together, until there's a pairing,
Mm.
reductants and oxidants, nothing else matters. It's just chaos.
It's a good metaphor for life because a lot of people, especially our young ones, are going, I don't need to pair. I don't need to pair.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm fine on my own. We all
yeah,
need to pair somehow, whether it's friendship,
exactly.
whether it's lover, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
We are
Mm-hmm.
meant to be a collaborative, not a
Mm-hmm.
soloist,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Even the soloist needs the orchestra to back it up.
You got to
Uh,
have there's got
yeah.
to be the up and the down. And that's
Yes.
what Ralph Waldo Emerson said, Sarah, about in this book and pamphlet papers called Compensation, that life is a duality.
Yeah.
You can't have light without dark.
Exactly.
You can't be up without down. You can't go in without going out. And that's the same way how we treat people. As you just pointed out,
Mm.
it's okay to be single. There's a time to be single, and then there's a time to pair up. And
Right.
there's a time to be a friend and a time to not be a friend. And so
Right.
when we look at life in these molecular times or in this nutritional stage, we have got to be paired and there's got to be balance. Otherwise, we are that quote unquote free radical causing damage in
Yeah.
relationships where there shouldn't be. There should be
And
harmony.
we're wired to have companionship. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the pairing doesn't have to be another human being. In that
Mm-hmm.
analogy, some people have chosen animals as their
Yep.
partner, perfectly okay. But the
Yeah.
whole point is we need a pairing. And when you talk about the balance, it's I talked about this in an earlier show, which was funny enough about somebody who's divorced and where she went from there. Uh, when we're looking at a seesaw or a teeter-totter, whichever you wish to
Mm-hmm.
call it, we're
Mm-hmm.
not looking at the highs and the lows. We're looking at that lovely swing that just goes in rhythm, up and down,
Yeah.
up and down. When you look at the fiber optics with the trees, they don't care
Mm-hmm.
if a tree is down, old, young,
Yep.
fat, thin, of a different species. They don't care. Those fiber optics are communicating with each other, and the forest is as strong as that communication, right?
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep. Yep.
we've got that communication going on inside of us. And if it says
Mm-hmm.
we need that other person in our life, so to speak, that is
Mm-hmm.
because our psyche and our well-being need that counterpart,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
And it's
so
interesting because again, human, plant, or animal,
it doesn't matter.
the mitochondria fulfill that biochemically so
Yes.
that we can have those connections with electricity or with energy or the chemical process. Because I was saying this the other day to someone, when you talk about redox technology, the health technology, and the implications of it all, when we think about being in disharmony, it's
Yes,
because we're missing something. And
absolutely.
genetically, we are the planet, all of us are designed to be in harmony.
And we are not right now.
A
Oh my
little bit.
God.
We need
It's
more redox.
Yeah,
We need more
we need to
reductants.
be dropping it at a few people's strengths. We definitely do. So, but I always look at sometimes disruption. It comes before balance, before equality,
Mhm.
because sometimes we have to go through the chaos to understand what the calm is. And sometimes we have to, it's like house cleaning, we have to do the spring cleaning to
Mm-hmm.
get rid of things. And so, kind of where we're at in society right now is I feel that we have a certain demographic that is in angst. And in
Mm-hmm.
that they're the free radical at the present moment, flapping in the
Mm-hmm.
wind.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
haven't found that, equal partner to calm them down and see things rationally. And what happens with a free radical? They make an awful lot of noise and
They
they make a
do.
lot of complaints. So whether it's verbally out there in social media and on the news and in politicians, etc., it's also the same type of thing is going on in our body. And why do
Yeah.
we suddenly feel sluggish? Why do we suddenly feel depressed? Why do we suddenly feel, um, I don't know, there's something off and I don't know what it is, right? And it's
Yeah.
because we're out of balance.
Not being a psychologist, but I had enough classes when you got two doctorate degrees, you have to sit down with the APA people and, the American Psychology Association, and you get these tidbits. Something you just said. So let me introduce this concept to see if this resonates with your audience and with you, with all of us. If our spiritual life is not in balance with our
Mm-hmm.
physical life,
Mm-hmm.
because we serve as dual beings, some might say
Absolutely.
tri. If our body, our mind, and our soul are not in balance, are not
Mm-hmm.
in sync, two of us could be off, and then one of us is, the free radical.
Yeah.
And many people want to ignore,
Mm-hmm.
although we're, could be all disembodied spirits, our spirit, who we are, you
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, the physical brain, you cannot see the mind, but you can feel, right, the warmth of the sun. You
Exactly.
can't necessarily, you could see color, but how does it make you feel? And so
Exactly.
that biochemical process, all the endorphins, all the
Oh, yes.
serotonin, all of
Uh-huh.
the other biochemical things that we get from our nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Those things that are bioabsorbable that make us us. If we are out of balance, and I've learned this after 65, now I'll just come out and tell you, but I've just learned, I felt like there was a toy called in America called Mr. Potato Head. And when we were kids, you would
Yes,
put
yes,
this
they used to
potato,
play with them.
put the
Yeah.
sponge together. Well, I felt like after 65, my ear was coming off and my foot was coming off.
Yes.
It's like all of us experience this after 60, like, oh, or maybe sometimes 40. Oh, this isn't working, or
Yeah.
that's not
Mm-hmm.
working. But it's also spiritually. And it's
Yes.
also within us that says if we are disconnected from our creator,
Yeah.
we are not in alignment. And we need that. I know in this new age, we all talked about different kinds of mysticisms and this. And
Yes.
I'm not painting good or evil. I'm just
No,
saying spiritually, that's who we are. And if we're not connected with that part of who we really are,
we're disconnected. Full
and
stop.
there you go.
Absolutely.
And we're and
Absolutely.
we are that free radical.
Exactly. And I 100%, I'm more of a spiritualist than I am a humanist.
Mm-hmm.
I was a spiritual being having a really hard time being a human.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
because when you're just in the humanoidism,
Mm-hmm.
you're not feeling, you're not sensing, you're not touching. Um, that sensation, that even that sensuality of being in tuned
Mm-hmm.
with all your senses, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a combination of your spirit and your body working together. And
Mm-hmm.
everything tastes different, everything tastes different, everything makes you feel different, and music makes you move different. Everything about it is
Absolutely.
different. You
Sarah, you
cannot
should be doing
separate.
redox. I should be listening to you. You should be.
I actually do need it. Yes, I do need it because
Yeah,
I suffer from fibromyalgia, so I think yes, it would probably help quite
it
considerably.
would help.
But I completely, I'm 69 going on 70, so I
I will
understand,
be
right?
69 in July. So we're right there together. Here
Right.
we
So,
are. I'll confess now.
that's the thing is that it doesn't matter how optimistic we are or anything else. We're in a vehicle that's had a
Yes,
lot of wear and tear, maybe a few
absolutely.
accidents along the way, and
Couple ball tires here and there.
ball tires and maybe an engine overhaul or whatever. But the point is that we're an old model trying to
Yes.
function in a modern demand world, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not optimized. So anything we can do to put the fuel in that can kind of give the juice back to the car and let
Yeah.
us run for longer is amen.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. There you go. It's interesting that for like when we were younger, show and tell. Let me just I have this here. When you look at what's in this blue bottle, the signals that are in this bottle, right? Think about this. Some of us treat medications, pharmaceuticals, like, oh, if I take 2 aspirin, my headache will go away. So that's all I need. People don't think about the biochemical, the processes that even that you described, the rejuvenating of our minds, the
Mm-hmm.
scriptures talks about, the laughter, Solomon said
Yes,
it's like medicine,
it is.
dancing like David did, to bring
Absolutely.
about different
Yeah.
things. But
Joy.
the things in that bottle that I learned and some of the challenges that I have, while since they've been mitigated, uh, it's interesting that I would say to people, you don't put gasoline in your vehicle once.
No.
You don't, you
Yeah.
don't, you don't take, solar energy and cover up
Mm-hmm.
the device. If our bodies are lacking certain things, you can't eat enough blueberries, right?
No.
You can't get
No.
enough
We cannot consume
food,
the amount of food
what we need.
that of what we
Exactly.
need. We just can't. It's impossible.
But
Yeah.
at our ages, at our stages of development right now, our bodies recognize that when these things are put back in our bodies,
Mm.
for example, after 50, we've already lost half of these molecules.
Yes.
Now, I do have some other challenges, and I have to take 18 ounces a day for me. And when I recognize that when I've had that requisite amount, it's like I feel, there was a commercial years ago. I think it was Exxon that says, put Tony Tiger in your
Yeah.
tank or something like that. Remember that
Tiger in the
commercial?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, get a tiger in your tank, get more ethanol, so you
Yeah.
have energy. But realistically, with this health technology, if you are doing all the requisite things, again, movement, exercise, sleep, eating the right kinds of foods, uh, it was a Dr. Davis who wrote a book called Wheat Belly that I was introduced to by my physician. In fact, he was a resident, and I saw one day when I was just doing my checkups that his skin was like different, and I was using some kind of diet protocol and try to eat my way to better health. But I said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Doctor, you got to read this book. It's called Wheat Belly." And this was like in 2014. And in 2015, I actually was at a library and I actually was doing something for my children and found this book. It was like a light was shining on the book
Oh,
in
no,
the
no, no. That's
reference
how books
section.
work.
And
Yeah,
I
they
went,
say,
wow. And it was there.
yeah.
But the book was called, and for your audience, if you haven't, this is a plug for Dr. Davis. I'm not on his payroll, but
Yeah.
as an educator and a librarian, good books help us, right?
Oh, God, yes. And they keep on giving.
And it's called Wheat Belly Total Health. This was in 2015. I since have his new book, Uncommon Health or Undoctored.
Hmm.
That came out in 2017. But the key was if you can eliminate 6 seeds of grass. Now, to a diabetic, which I've been on this protocol,
Hmm.
um, I didn't know about Redox then, but I accomplished some of the things by eliminating or having my insulin and my other medications reduced
Right,
because I wasn't putting poison back in my body.
right.
And he said that wheat acts also as an opioid and it keeps us addicted. That's why we keep eating bread. We keep going
Mm.
back to, pastas, and we keep going back to things that are not good for us. But again, if you're not eating or having the proper nutrition,
Hmm.
I can't keep going to some of the fast food places, or eating cookies and muffins like I had today, double chocolate, and think that I'm going to get better. But we all succumb to our temptations, or
Yeah,
whether it's
and
dark
again,
chocolate.
moderation, right?
Yes,
I'm a dark chocolate
absolutely.
lover, and it's like if we get obsessed with something or fixated on something, that has just as
Yes,
much damage to us. It's that moderation. If you're going to have it now and
absolutely.
again, it's a treat, and you treat it as
It
that,
is.
and you enjoy it without guilt, because then the body
Yes,
doesn't feel guilty about it, but you just don't
yes.
make it a habit.
Yes, but you learn to do things when you learn. They say the saying about, when you know better, you do better.
Yes.
And so I'm more conscious about not eating those 6 seeds of grass. So my glucose levels are normal. I've lost over 60 pounds. All
Wow.
those things that my doctors, my medical staff are confused about with me, but I bring this bottle with me. They know I'm taking this technology. They know what I'm working on. And I think that's something else. We have to work in unison with our practitioners
Yeah.
because that's why it's called a practice. They
Hmm.
don't know
No,
everything.
no, they don't.
But and they're not all going to buy into what we're
No.
doing with this redox technology because they're tied to big pharma. No,
Yes.
no problem. My daughter's a vet. She explained to me. She says, "Dad, if I want to keep practicing medicine, for animals, and we have a certain, company that we're using their product, with our patients, have to be animals. Well, they're not going to lose their job, but that's where a lot of Americans and Canadians, we're learning that Western medicine has its limits, just as in Eastern medicine, has its
Yes.
limits. But
It's the
there's
yin and
nothing
yang.
greater than
Mhm.
common sense
Well,
and communication,
but
right?
common sense is something that may be kind of gone above the wayside. And it's we've become terrified. And because of big pharma, because of the advertising, if you don't take this, you're going to die. Right? And there's
Absolutely.
one ad, depression hurts, and they show all these people depression hurts, and you take this drug, and there's 10 minutes that the side effects could be suicide. And it's like, hello, where's the common sense?
Come on.
Right? Now, I suffer from depression. I do have the Prozac pill at the lowest dosage
Yep.
when I need it. I only take it when I feel the rabbit hole coming up.
Yep.
Otherwise, I know the triggers and I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
Music, right?
Yeah.
Go and do something progressive. Go and
Biochemical
help someone. It brings up the
change your
endorphins.
environment.
Change your
Yeah. Change
environment.
your
Be
environment.
proactive. The reason why
Mhm.
this particular show is called Your Health is Your Choice, because if we hand ourselves over just to the doctors blindly without taking any responsibility, in a lot of it, for pharma, it's about keeping you sick. Now, doctors don't listen.
And keeping you on that cycle of
Exactly, because they're
medication.
going to make money.
Yeah.
They don't want anything. I mean, there's been cure for cancer for God knows how long. The
Hmm.
B17 formula, which
Hmm.
is your blueberries, your strawberries, your pumpkin seeds, all of those berries, which they had condensed. There's a great story about Max Factor's son. He was in France at a clinic, and they said, "Go home and take pictures. He's riddled with cancer. He's
Hmm.
not going to make it." So the last straw, he went and took him to a clinic in Mexico called Oasis, and they
Hmm.
literally dripped that B17 formula into him. I think it was prostate. I can't quite remember. Anyway,
Yeah, I
three
don't
months
either.
later, he came out. The thing is, you do have to maintain what it
Yes.
is that got rid of the
Yes.
cancer. But he was, the walking dead, and he woke out walking life. But B17 formula is banned in the States. Right?
Mhm.
But why? Nothing because, oh, it's cyanide. It's the cyanide vitamin. No, it's because Big Pharma does not want you to know about it.
And the body's gotten the signal from the nutrition that
Yes,
we need,
yes,
and it sends and it goes, "Hey guys, we gotta clean up in aisle 15. Let's
yes.
go."
Yeah,
And so,
Pac-Man. Tap, 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 tap.
yeah,
Eat
there
the
you
bad
go.
cells, right?
And
Yeah,
therein comes back full circle to the redox signaling molecule that it enhances what the body already knows how to get rid of. Again, apoptosis, to
right.
kill the rogue or the bad cells
Yeah,
and actually regenerate and rejuvenate the cells that need to be replaced or repaired. So I'm so thankful, and I'll say this plug for Dr. Gary Samuelson. I was with him in a meeting yesterday. I was
mhm,
invited, and I got a chance to meet this lead atomic medical physicist who led the team to stabilize, because these are so fleeting molecules. They stabilized it. And
yeah,
what makes it significant, Sarah, is how many hundreds of thousands of people
yeah,
don't know about this. And because of the Madison Avenues and the
yes,
advertising, you said it earlier, you and I, we're having our picket fence
yes,
conversation, but we're just sharing it with hundreds of thousands of people saying, I happen to be the vessel today that says, I stumbled upon this because a neighbor told me about it.
mhm,
And we've got hundreds of thousands of testimonies, on our websites that we share with people. But I also know, and I did this the other day, some of us who are skeptical or non-believers in spiritually, we need proof. If
mm,
the science doesn't prove it, and if we can't demonstrate it, but what happens to go back uh, to something that Christ said about a prophet has no honor in his own country.
mhm,
When you go home, people don't who know you, they'll say, Sarah, I'll get out of here. What do you mean you
mhm,
used to have fibromyalgia? You're
yeah,
like, no, I met Hill. He gave me some stuff. He
yeah,
showed me.
mhm,
We talked about it. I
mhm,
tried it for 90 days. All of a sudden, I got something happen. I
yeah,
can't tell you what, because it happened to me. And then
yeah,
all of a sudden, people who know us, Sarah, they go, well,
There's
That's
something
something's in
different.
it.
Did you
Yeah,
change your hair?
yeah. Or like back in Jesus' day, you've got a devil. You know, there's
Yes,
something
of course.
wrong.
Oh, well, no, not Jesus Day, darling. You've
But you
got
know
a
what I mean?
demographic
That's
out
what.
there right now that everything is the devil. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything
yeah. And
progressive.
exactly.
Yeah.
And when there's something that we cannot explain
Right.
that's good for us,
Yeah.
and others who don't believe, they somehow have a bigger platform, and they
Yes.
seem to be the loudest,
Yeah, I know.
and that muffles the hope
Yeah.
that another person can say, Sarah, you ought to try this. Or don't have Dr. Hill on that program. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
You know, who wants to talk about improved athletic performance or better skincare or better health and wellness? Nobody does. You know, we have companies that do this. Here, take this vitamin, take this pill. And all this Dr. Hill is saying is, I'm not a medical person. I don't know what you have. I can tell you this though, try it for yourself.
Hmm.
Find out if this technology improves your health or the health of a loved one. And if you've seen what I've seen, and I tell this to people all the time, sir, I'm just kind of coined it like this. If you knew what I knew,
Hmm.
you would do what I do.
Exactly.
You cannot keep something that's good for friends and family or any human being or plant or animal if there's hope to extend our life. And the science that just came out, sir, this fall proved from the University of Bath and another university over in Europe, they have demonstrated that the NRF2 gene and the products that we offer in the Redox gel and in these segments has actually extended the life of some of the test subjects, both animal and human. And they call them telomeres in our DNA. When the telomere, you know, it's like the Y
Yeah.
parts of the
Yeah.
Y and the X of the, when they get extended, Sarah, the science is showing us this is true that once the body has the proper nutrition
Yes.
and can hear the signal clearer,
Hmm.
who would not want their life extended?
You know,
That's an incredible piece of science.
it's not about you're going to suddenly be 20 again. That's not what
Oh,
it's
no, no,
about.
no, 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 no. That's
What
never
it is
happened.
about is that it's repairing. Maybe it can erase it, depends what you have or how severe it is, but it's
Mm-hmm.
repairing to a point where it's enhancing and supporting your body in all that it does. Instead of, our poor little piston not getting the right oil and just, struggling as we
Yes.
pitter patter down the road, it's putting optimized oil in there that piston is going, okay, let's go,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it has
yeah,
more
yeah,
juice in it. It doesn't mean it is the new vehicle that can get into sixth gear and do 300 miles an hour,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But it makes the
yeah.
performance of whatever vehicle we're in better, and it gives us more quality of life. And the big thing here is, do you want to keep struggling every day,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find energy,
Mm-hmm.
feeling sore, not sleeping well, being anxious, seeing yourself getting old,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or do
yeah.
you want to be able to say, this is a new era where age is not held against us anymore? How many
Mm-hmm.
people do I interview that from 50s, 60s, they start totally new careers? The
Yes.
oldest I've interviewed was 92 with her only TV
Oh,
show.
wow.
She's 94 now, still got it. Took a new lover at 90, you know? So, and the thing is until we're gone, we're here to
Yeah.
play. But what
The,
we
the
want is something
program
to
is
support
already
us.
set.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Cellularly, the program does not say stop growing
No,
unless you're rogue or unless you're a
right.
free radical. Let's keep growing. Can I ask a quick question, if I
Yeah.
may? Because you made me think of this analogy. Back in the late 1800s, there was nothing called a soft drink.
Oh, I know.
And a little pharmacist, remember rereading this in Napoleon Hill's book. It's in Think and Grow Rich, and it's in his book called The Law of Success. But here's the analogy. When they created this soft drink, this pharmacist added a special ingredient, Napoleon said, and they came up with Coca-Cola. And the brand
Cocaine in
today,
it.
I'm sorry, but they came up with
No,
this
no,
soft
no,
drink.
no.
Oh,
They
okay.
had cocaine in Coca-Cola
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah,
in those
yeah, yeah, yeah,
days.
yeah.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. So like people are now enamored. Ooh, try this soft drink. But guess what? Maybe 50, 60 years later, Coca-Cola again wasn't the only game in town. Like
Mm,
right now, ASEA, the manufacturer, has a 10 to 15-year jump. So watch this. Everybody hears about, they begin to hear about molecules. And then another company comes up and says, well, guess what? We added pepsin, and we're going
Yeah.
to call our molecules, Pepsi-Cola, right?
Pepsi, yeah.
Now, imagine this. When we were growing up in the late, 70s, early 80s, Pepsi like wiped out Coke and said,
Yeah.
let's have the Pepsi challenge.
Yeah.
We taste better than you.
Yes.
And I was talking to a Coca-Cola ex-executive, and he said when he came in, Pepsi just like wiped them out. Same argument
Hmm.
between Apple Computer and
Yes.
Microsoft. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, Microsoft.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you is what I'm introducing is just because on February the 9th, we can talk about these things and we know that people are getting better.
Hmm.
We will not be the only game in town. If you
No.
go to pubmed.gov, which is an American government site, the National Institute of Health, and you type in Redox, you will see over 300,000 plus articles that dental and medical and researchers and scientists have bombarded because they're all trying to figure out what can we do with this technology.
Yeah.
And if you just look at redox signaling molecules, there are another 6,000 double-blind placebo studies. Scientists and medical people are trying to figure this out. But Sarah, by the time we get to be, maybe it'll happen this year or 10 years from now, we'll be driving cars using redox biochemistry.
Right.
We'll be using other, products and services. But the thing I want to come back to is when you're the first to market,
Yes.
when you're a category creator, I have chosen to market what I'm doing by just teaching people. I'm not saying to you that, oh, guess what, Sarah? I have this light bulb and nobody in your community has the infrastructure or even knows what
Mm.
it is. But Coca-Cola, light bulb, horse's carriage, what's exciting is we do have the technology, but
Yes.
how we express it and through broadcasts like this,
Hmm.
we can educate the public and the consumers to say, it's not a silver bullet, but it's the
No.
closest thing we've come
Yes.
to extending and having better health, better wealth, because those who share it, we get a little gift from the manufacturer that
Right.
says, well, thank you for sharing this with Sarah.
Exactly. So there's
Sarah,
that
thank you for
business
sharing
side of
it.
it as
That's the
well, right? So
business
a little
side.
extra cash that can help pay
There
for
you
your own
go.
Redox. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
And that's the thing is that I used to be with a networking company back in the 90s, and but I've suffered from ill health all my life, and I was quite sick. And then I didn't see people all summer. And then I went to a meeting in the September, and I'd been taking various of their products. And some
Mhm.
of these products actually came from China, buried with the terracotta soldiers.
I've seen that.
There
Yep.
were formulas that this company bought and they were
Hmm.
using, and they were absolutely incredible. The formulas, which would probably have very much kind of the formula you're talking about because it was like that. I was taking those products over the summer. I lost weight. I looked so good. When I got to that meeting and I'm putting my hand up and say, yes, it did this for me, it did this for me. Look at me. Is that you, Sarah? Is that you? And it changed my life
Wow.
considerably. Right.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the company got bought over by someone else and they went down a
Yeah.
different road, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunate. But
Yeah.
where as happens, but the thing is, when you find something that does work for you and you feel good on it, that's the
Mhm.
thing. You feel good on it. Like I can really put my car into that fourth gear now. I don't have to potter
Mhm.
along, the side streets with everybody honking at me. I
Mhm.
know I've
Mhm.
got two grandbabies under 3. I want to have that energy to play with them instead of
Yes.
being
Yes.
exhausted by them, right? So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
there's always a reason for us to want something. And one of the big things that is common in anybody that is either age depletion or struggling with any form of condition, a
Mhm.
lack of energy. That's a common thing,
Absolutely.
an absolute
Absolutely.
lack of energy. And that is, it's like a cell phone that's getting old. You charge
Hmm.
it, but it never fully
Hmm.
charges and it depletes very quickly. Right. And
Hmm.
that's what
Hmm.
happens
Hmm.
as you get older. And especially if you have any condition, that is what happens. If you can boost up the charge of that, right,
Yep.
of your own battery, and it can be running more optimally and longer, so you can
Hmm.
do more without
Hmm.
at the end of it feeling that you've been knocked over by a ton of bricks and you're
Yep.
exhausted, and also you can sleep better
Yeah.
because everything is working for you, then why
Yeah.
wouldn't you? Now
Let me
I know.
ask you this
Yeah.
question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No,
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 no.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, no. Ask
Because
me the question.
you brought up something else interesting. Because there are a lot of great organizations and a lot of great products that do and get the
Yeah.
results that you just indicated. And something happens in
Mhm.
corporate in corporations, in
Yes.
organizations. Let me say it
Yes.
this way. And uh, the thing that intrigues me the most is that when things when things are going good, we go back to those free radicals. Somebody in an organization says, "Let's try this," or "Let's do
Yes.
that," or "They're making too much money," or "Too many
Yeah.
people are having this." Let me say this, and I want people to know that I've had two leaders in my life that I've experienced. One was in financial services, and started a company that I joined because it wasn't the organization that he was spouting. It
Mm.
was about building people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
today, this gentleman, Tyler Norton, and along with his dad, it's incredible the leadership that this organization has put forth because they're giving 50% of their profits, the revenue, back to the field. But here's the point I want to make. When you create an organization
Mm-hmm.
that believes in becoming and believes in your outcome and not your income, when you
Mm.
believe in the ecosystem, as Tyler talks about building we, when like if it was a W
Yeah.
instead of me, or look at me,
Yes.
building, and leadership often has an opportunity for that free radical to come in and change the
Mm.
optic for
Yes.
the organization. I can tell you for me in the 4 years that I've been, and this is my first, it's not a multi-level marketing company, but they're
No.
using that model
Right.
that I've been around other network marketing professionals. And here's what is left with me. And tell me if this makes sense to you. When you learn to build people and not just
Yes.
sales,
Yes.
and everyone can be their own boss. The
Right.
other gentleman, his name was Art Williams. That's who I was referring to. And because he was a football coach, I resonated, having been a
Mm-hmm.
player, through college, to say when you become, to use Art's words, the head coach,
Mm-hmm.
when you're the guy or the gal in charge, and you give everybody the same opportunity and you treat everybody the same, and it's not about rank and money, it's about they become a part of your family, they become a part of
Yes.
you, and you're a part of someone else's team where you can leverage your time. If you don't stay true to being authentic, if you don't stay true to being honest, if you don't stay true to being, transparent and ethical, then all of the things that an organization should stand for, Tyler talks about the ethos of ASEA
Mm-hmm.
and having a corporate soul. If a human can have a soul,
Mm-hmm.
why can't a corporate entity? I want to say this, Sarah, and I found this to be with people all over. You got
Mm-hmm.
good and bad in organizations. For me, what resonates and vibrates more strongly is that I'm so focused on what other people want and what other people I can help them do, and use this tool and this technology to not only just help their body, but to leverage it that we're more concerned about other people sometimes than ourselves. Isn't that what Jesus talked about? That if we love our neighbors as we love ourselves, if we have compassion,
Oh,
then we don't have to sell what we do. One of our leaders in
right.
our company, Alan Noble, talks about we're not here to try to change your eye color. We're
Right.
not here to convince you that this works. We know it does for those of us who are eating, so to speak, what we do, right?
Mm.
Eat what we cook. But you said it, Sarah. There are products that work, and then something happens
Yes.
organizationally, and we get dissuaded.
Yeah.
And people say, well, I'll never do another MLM again. I'll
Yeah.
never join it. And then they meet people like me and they get excited. They're like, man, I love this guy because I love them. Or I want to work with them. Yeah, because it's about people.
It's about
And
the
when you,
village.
there you
It's
go.
about the village. You know, the village is only as strong as everybody's in it.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
times, good
You
times.
said it.
Excuse me.
Oh, you're excited.
Good
She's really excited.
times.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Good times, bad times. That village is there for each other, right?
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
they're there for each other, they grow stronger.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Carry on talking.
It's okay. And the byproduct of that is, if it works, organization. Listen, the company, the organization. I was just going to pull up a statistic, but they are rated top AAA companies, and they're ranked in the direct selling industry number 42 out of the top 100. This is only a 14-year-old company that's been profitable from its first year. Listen, we pray sometimes in our little team on Sunday nights with Ed Weems, who's part of one of our double ambassador diamonds. We get people on Sunday and we just pray for the company and we pray for the people who are leading it because we want them to make the right decisions. We want it to be 100. And they are so tuned in, Sarah, to making this a legacy organization that will be here for years and years. Listen now, organizationally, the ethos of ASEA. I've adopted, I live it, it's on my own mobile device. People say, well, why do you kind of sound like you're a preacher? Why do you sound like, I say, because first of all, the creator gave us his son. That's how much love he had for the world. And if I have enough for my fleshly people, brothers and sisters, people who I meet, that's what ASEA begins to permeate because it's the ethos of what we stand for. It's not about money and principles. It's about principles, right? And having the capacity, not just income, right?
Yes.
Over ego. I,
It,
I,
it
I
is it's
love the
actually
people
the
that we do.
true networking because
It
networking is
is.
picket fence. Networking has become how can I pitch, how can I sell to you? Where over the picket fence is I'm so excited about this, this is doing this for me. And I'm not going to gain anything from it other than what you're going to gain from it. And that's
Exactly.
really what networking is about. I mean, you're a great networker. You're really great at introducing people, and not even around this. Just, you
Yeah.
see people that need to come together. What
Yeah.
transcribes out of that is what will be. But that's the thing. If we could be there for each other, and, by whether you are a Christian or it doesn't matter, I don't care what
Right.
religion
Doesn't
you are,
matter. Doesn't
is
matter.
what higher power you go to, right? And that higher energy of sharing it and sending it out to someone or to an organization or to people has been proven to me over and over again to work. Right. So it's that loving energy that you're putting out there, no matter what dominion you're putting it out in. It's caring.
And let me give this shout out because the person that you and I met using the alignable, in the Smart
Mm.
Connect, but it is a person who's become my best friend, Robin Edelman,
Mm-hmm.
right? From the Todd Up Show, who reintroduced us. It was her love for you that said that was the picket fence that brought us together.
All right.
And see,
Yes.
there's nothing stronger than the gift of love that you give to your neighbor.
Mm.
And Robin is like that for us on our team. She's a beautiful soul. She's a person who I hope becomes successful, but she will be because she has me as one of her parents. She has me as one of
Yes.
the leaders.
But that
And
that's the thing is that we've reached an age where you aren't born into wisdom. You're born into intuition. You're born into what I call knowingness, and then you
yes,
gather knowledge. But what you
yes,
gain through life experience and divine connection is the wisdom and how to use that knowledge,
yes, yes,
right?
yes,
So
yes, yes,
having, the one thing that I think I'm beginning to see, which is beautiful, whereas for a long time is that you're old or you're middle or you're young. Then there was never, the bled of either. Now
right,
we're actually
right,
seeing so much more of
yes,
everybody seeing the benefit no matter where you are at what stage of life. And I have a
yes.
I have a book coming out on the 20th of February called Our Forgotten Children. And it's
Oh
15
no.
people that have contributed about what we need to change around our children, the awareness we need to have. And it's a fundraiser for organizations each person
Okay.
supports. But the next book I'm going to be doing is Our Forgotten Seniors. And
Well, let me
the
ask you this. That's a good plug because you just made me think. We just organized a new group in our Naperville Alliance called Naperville. I think we're going to call it the Authors Alliance of Naperville.
ah,
And we would love to have you participate because
yes.
all of these authors,
I'm in
all of
four
these
books.
people. Oh, oh, Sarah, listen. Just to have, as Napoleon would say, Napoleon Hill, having that mastermind, but it all becomes. And there's another book. I think it's Gary Keller and Jay Papasan called The One Thing.
Mhm.
When we talk about that one domino,
Yes.
that you can set all the others up, the one domino for me, her name is Phyllis Bond. Because if
Mm.
it wasn't Phyllis telling me about this and somebody told Phyllis that
Yes.
one domino that
Yes.
starts,
Yes.
we
Yep.
would love to have you part of our dominoes with
I
other
would love to be a
authors.
part of it.
Oh, Sarah,
I'm
that
so
would be
infused about this, and this is the evolution of my podcast network because I've been doing this nearly 12 years, 10 and a half years, my own network. It was to go into podcast books, as I call them. Um,
okay.
but it's it's all very well doing the podcast and addressing the problems and what we can do
Yes.
about it, but why not take it a step further and put it in summits and put it in books and put it in a
Yes.
way that reaches a bigger audience so that we
Yes.
can do something about it. So it was that next evolution for me.
Well, we would love to
And
have
the
you
reason why I
part of
came to,
that.
I would love to. Yes, you have to send me the information for that because I would love to.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
I'm going to point out that obviously buying this product has a few dollars attached to it,
Just a
but
couple.
you have to look at it this way. In America, you have to buy your drugs. Very few of you are covered, right?
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
much are you spending on drugs that have been so over proportionally rung up that what are they doing? They're keeping you hooked. It's another form of drug addict.
Yep.
Now, you
Yes.
just saw me use my Ventolin. I'm an asthmatic,
Yes.
and yes, I can't
Yes.
go without that. So there's certain medications that, like with your diabetes, but if we
Yep.
can lessen the use of it and if we can
Yes.
fortify our body that we're not reliant on it,
Yes.
right? It's there in case
Yes.
we're not reliant on it, then why has it got to be a thing that investing in our own body, putting money into our own body, people go and buy a new dress for $100 with no problem,
Don't even
right?
think twice.
Yeah,
Right.
and you go to the gas station now, it's $100 to fill up, right? So
Yes.
why can't you fill your own vehicle up?
Interesting point. Let me share this with you. Now, a lot of people come to us, and when you introduce, the price point, why does it cost X? And when we say, I remember somebody telling me this is so expensive, and I remember asking the question because I was sincere because of all the challenges I was spending money on and what I'm working through. Is I said, compared to what?
Mhm.
When you, as you just pointed out about, however we're spending our dollars, if we provided, and we do, a way to obtain free product just by telling somebody else.
Exactly.
If you want to really find out about our business opportunity that you can obtain this product by getting rewards, you can't buy it online.
Mhm.
The other companies that are trying to infringe upon the SIA,
Yeah.
and again, I won't mention their names because we already have the legal status and the things that prohibit them from doing that from third
Mhm.
parties. You want to get the Redox product from an authorized distributor. But here's the point. If you're doing it and you're getting reward points to get free product, if you tell an X number of people, and for us, it's only 4 people who at least are buying one case,
Mhm.
a month, you can get free product.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, what was once an obstacle,
Mhm.
right? It now becomes, you're not only getting healthy, but you're also making a couple dollars. I try to express to
A
people,
double whammy.
if you, yeah, and if you could just make an extra $250 a month above what you're
Exactly.
currently earning,
Yes, that
would that
fills
be
your
of a
gas car,
benefit to you?
a
There you
meal
go.
out,
There
treat or
you
something
go.
like that. Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. There
So
you
I
go.
think, we have to reprioritize. Again, why the show is called Your Health is Your Choice. There is always a choice. There is
Yes.
always an answer. I do
Yes.
many diverse different modalities of health because it is your choice of which one you choose to try. It is
Would this
your
be a
choice of
good,
what you want to do, but it is letting people know that there is something more than
yeah.
just the pharmaceutical out there.
Would this be a good time to ask you, would it be okay if I gave them my contact information?
No,
Because
of
I would
course
love
not.
for them to
No,
have my
I want people
website.
to
And
reach out to you because
so
it's
all you
really
have to do
important.
is go to https:// 1-800-388-838 dot myasialive.com. That's the short part of that is 1-800-388-838 dot myasea, ASEA live, LIVE.com. And I'll be glad to answer any questions for you. That's just my website.
That's
The
what
people
that's
who join
well,
us would
your
have their own.
website is Thomas Mallory
Well,
Hill and
that
Associates.
yes, but on that I have my links to the Redox technology. So if there's something that you had a question about and you needed more information, that's where you'd find it. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So, the
Yep,
point
I've linked
is
the two.
go and start the conversation,
Start
right?
the conversation.
So
Exactly.
Thomas Mallory, which is Mallory Hill and
And
associates.com,
associates, plural. Mm-hmm.
plural.
And that'll be the link. And you'll see that there. Mm-hmm.
And just start the conversation because, you know, the research is there. He can refer to the research.
Absolutely.
He can talk from his own testimony and he can talk from the
Mm-hmm.
testimony of other people. Again,
Mm-hmm.
how it's going to work for you is how it's going to work for you, right? Nobody
Well
can
said.
guarantee you anything. It's up to your body and how much repair it has to do. You also
Yeah,
have to bear in mind the cellular structure changes every 3 months. It's going to take at least 3 months to
exactly.
repair and then to support. So it
Mm-hmm.
is at least 3 months. I would say
At
always
least
give
three.
something 6 months at least
Mm-hmm.
to feel the
Mm-hmm.
difference because it's got to get in there and repair. Then it's got to get in there and boost. So do not,
Yes.
oh, I tried it for a week and it's not doing anything. No, it's
Yeah, no.
busy. It's busy.
Yeah.
You're just not seeing
Yeah.
the evidence of it yet because it's got a lot to fix,
And you
right?
never know what is preventing that you
Yes.
cannot see.
Yes. And again, back to lifestyle, back to your spiritual lifestyle, mental lifestyle, eating lifestyle. It's absolutely been
Yes.
proven that eating organic, healthy
Mm-hmm.
foods, you eat less than,
Mm-hmm.
because people's always more expensive, but
Mm-hmm.
you eat less and it fortifies you
Mm-hmm.
more than buying all the
Mm-hmm.
foods with all the preservatives and chemicals in it. We are
Absolutely.
scientifically seeing a difference in the chemistry of our body and the chemistry of our brains due to all these chemicals that are in our foods. We're seeing more uh,
Yeah.
we're seeing more killings, we're seeing more anxiety, we're seeing more depression, we're seeing more anger. And a lot of this is being contributed to the chemicals that we put in our body. So it is, be aware of what you're eating. Eat organically as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Lots of vegetables, right? Stacks of vegetables. I take all greens all the time and add that to everything I eat to get the extra fortification.
Yeah.
Right. So
And find a
it's
way to get
everything.
some extra income flowing in to help you pay for this stuff.
Exactly, exactly. So the thing is, the answers are there. This is actually a second show I've done on Aussie, and the last time was from somebody that it changed her life completely from where she
Oh,
was and
wow.
what it's done for her. So the thing is, it's out there. But what I love about it is they're not here to conquer the world. They're here to strengthen the villages along the way,
Yep. That's
right?
what I call building people and not
Yes.
just sales.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
each village is strong, then we don't have people trying to invade other people's villages because
Correct.
all of the villages are strong. So
Correct.
it
That is
isn't
correct.
about conquering the world. I'm watching actually Marco Polo right now, and Genghis Khan and all of that. And it's like all this conquering going on, all these
Yeah.
lives sacrificed. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
every village being as strong as it possibly can. And therefore there
Yeah.
is no need for conquering,
Correct.
right? None
That's right.
whatsoever.
That's right. Not if we love each other, won't be a
No,
need.
and that is the bottom line. Love. That love is
It is.
the healer of all. It doesn't
It
mean that you
is.
don't go and take things, but it come from a love place, and then you will
Yeah.
understand. Clarity is in the love. So Thomas
Absolutely.
Mallory, Mallory, Hill and Associates.com, and on Instagram, Dr. Thomas Mallory Hill. And
Yep.
you just start the conversation, go and reach out. And you don't know what it's going to do for you until you try
You
it,
don't.
right? And
Exactly.
start prioritizing. Maybe there's some other things. If you're financially strapped, what other things can you
Mm-hmm.
let go of right now in order to be able to
Mm-hmm.
afford
Mm-hmm.
this and start? Because when you start feeling the difference, you're going to start speaking the difference, and therefore you're going to start
Absolutely.
making money on it that covers yours. So the old
Absolutely.
domino effect. So thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Sarah.
Thomas. Thank you. Because it's,
All right.
again, our health is our choice. It's up to us. There's always a solution. But when people are in it for the right reason, they're in it because they
Mm-hmm.
want people to be well. They want people to
Mm-hmm.
be fortified. This is their legacy. This is their why.
Yes.
Then you've got a business that isn't out just to make money off people.
Exactly.
They want to build health currency in people.
For themselves and
Yeah,
for themselves.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So folks,
You're
pass this show
amazing.
on.
Thank you.
Pass this show on. Get talking, get listening, reach out to Thomas and just make a difference in your own health. And when you do, I guarantee you'll be making a difference in others because they'll see it in you and they want to know what
That's
you're
right.
taking.
That's
So
right.
until next time, bye for
Thank you,
now.
Sarah. Bye bye.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.